welcome once again to In Your Corner. John Scholes, Sivan, Tumarkin. He's the boss. He has all the knowledge. I just kind of steer the boat every week. This is a show about disability and your insurer. We will get to lots of stuff on the show today, including 3 things that you do that could cause your LTD to be cut off. You don't want that to be done, so we'll cover that. Some emails and phone calls as well. But first, just maybe reiterate, since James is MIA today, Sivan, what do we do here every week?
Well, John, every week here we talk truth to power. We explain to people what the rights are with respect to their insurance companies, specifically when it comes to long-term disability. We are lawyers, and day in and day out, what we do is we fight insurance companies who've denied long-term disability claims and denied legitimate claims. And we explain to people what they can do about that and the fact that they're not as powerless as they think that they are. We give tips, we give advice, we go over some cases, we talk about some emails and voicemails that people have left for us from real people, real people who are struggling, who now have no money coming in. We tell them how to fight the insurance company. And it's very important to understand that both myself as well as James, who's not here today, but is here on other shows, we've worked for insurance companies. So we understand where the pressure points are, and we understand how to bring the fight to them.
1-855-821-5900. Anytime you'd like to reach out, get a hold of Sivan, or a member of the team, help@inyourcorner.ca is the email address you can use at your leisure. Week that was a success story, if you will. What do you got for us this week?
Well, let's talk about a case, an interesting situation that occurred. I got a call from the sister of a lady who is 38 years old. She's a teacher. She's been struggling with depression, and the depression has been exacerbated significantly recently because she's gone through a very traumatic divorce. She's a mother of 2, and she has a psychologist that is helping her, who's been helping her for a while. Now, the interesting thing is that she initially got short-term disability through her insurance company. And then when it was time to flip it over to long-term disability with the same insurance company, she was denied. And of course, her sister reaches to me and says, how can that be? It's the same medical documentation that was provided to the insurance company, but 2 different adjusters. One dealing with short-term, one dealing with long-term. And I looked at the medical documentation from the psychologist, from the family doctor, and lo and behold, it specifically states in detail why it is that they're thinking that she is disabled, why she can't do her work. And I can tell you, John, I see this day in and day out. I explain to them, both her and her sister, who's undergoing this terrible mental illness, that she has options and we can step in. And guess what? Once we step in, she doesn't have to deal with the insurance company anymore. Now, it's not a success story. It's going to be a success story, and I can tell you it's not going to take a long time to resolve that claim because we've helped quite a few other teachers. We deal with teachers quite a lot, but people as well from other industries. People who've been denied long-term disability claims, and they have questions and they have concerns and they're afraid and they feel victimized. They feel like they are ill, whether it's an injury or an illness, and then they feel victimized by their insurance company who was supposed to provide that safety net. And suddenly there is no safety net. Suddenly they're in debt. Suddenly there is no money coming in, even though you have a mortgage and you have children and everything else. So here's an example, a real-life example of this lady who had a family member, a concerned family member, contact us, and we're going to be able to help her. And I tell you, John, it's not going to take very long for us to resolve that claim with the insurance company, because as soon as we call their bluff, they're going to come to the table and they're going to want to negotiate. It's
funny you mentioned difference between the STD, the short-term disability, and the long-term, 2 different adjusters. I think people have this misconception that, when they deal with an adjuster on the phone, that adjuster is just focused on them. You're the only case they're dealing with. I'm after you. These guys might have a stack of cases they're dealing with, so they can't possibly know it that deeply or have a proper opinion on it, where you guys can delve in deep to each of these, right?
You're absolutely right. In fact, you're saying a stack. How about several stacks?
Right.
These adjusters are overworked. Many of them are good people. They just have a job to do. The problem is that if you are one person and you're handling 100 files and you have to know the ins and outs and details of every case that comes on your desk, you're not going to be able, with no support, to deal with all these cases.
No.
And they know that they are being graded by their superiors based on performance. And part of that performance is how many cases do you close? How many cases do you shut down? So unfortunately, people get caught out, and they get caught in that, and they get denied, again, unjustly. And this is where we step in. We have a team. And for every case that comes our way, we have a team approach so we can expedite the resolution. And the way we do that is by taking all of those steps that we have to do, and we divvy it up amongst our team, and we make sure that we hit the insurance company from every angle. And as soon as we do that, I'm telling you, John, generally within months after we get involved, we resolve these claims, sometimes even less than months, sometimes within weeks.
You can check us out anytime, inyourcorner.ca, and the number 1-855-821-5900. That comes up on your screen all the time. And email is also another option, help@inyourcorner.ca. We'll get to our first one for today's show. Curtis writes in, says, I've worked for a shipping company. I've been off work for almost 2 years. I applied for LTD shortly after going on leave, but was denied by my insurance company. I'm on my second appeal now. Where's James? And I'm worried I will be denied yet again. My doctor says my injury is too severe to return to work. What can I do to get the insurance company to approve my appeal?
Well, you know, Curtis raises a good point here, and he talks about appeals. And you mentioned James. James loves to talk about appeals. Look, what is an appeal in the context of long-term disability? An appeal is an internal process that the insurance company has set up to relook or re-examine your claim. Here's the problem. Insurance companies are there to make money. And if they denied you the first time, chances are they're going to deny you the second time.
Same company.
It's the same company. It's the same people looking over your documents. Or perhaps it's the neighbor of the person who just denied you last week. What do we do differently as lawyers? We start a legal process. That legal process takes now control out of the hands of the insurance company and puts them into a different category, a legal process that now allows us to press against the insurance company. As soon as we do that, the insurance company now has to deal with a legal mechanism that's in place. They have to have a defense lawyer that is assigned. They are now bleeding money defending the case. And one thing they hate more than just shelling out money just like that is bleeding money by paying a lawyer to defend the case, especially when they know that they're going to have to pay some kind of compensation down the road. Now, Curtis also mentions the fact that he's been off work with no income for almost 2 years. Very, very important. 2 years. You only have 2 years from the date you were first denied your LTD claim to start a legal claim. If you miss that 2-year mark, you are potentially at a risk of having no legal claim, no legal basis for proceeding with a claim. Why? Because there is a statute of limitations in Ontario, in British Columbia, and in other jurisdictions around the country. What does that mean? It means that if you wait over 2 years and you've crossed that threshold, the insurance company, even if you start the legal process, could potentially bring a motion before a court and strike your claim. So what does that mean again? It means that if you are owed tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by the insurance company, by missing that deadline, all that money that is owed to you and to your family could be left in the pocket of the insurance companies. And
those pretty little appeals don't reset the clock. So you think, oh, I've appealed 3 times, so now I'm back to 2 years.
No, I was contacted about a month ago by a gentleman who had appealed 3 times, and he crossed that 2-year mark. And I can tell you, John, I assessed his claim. My assessment, rough assessment, based on what I saw, his claim was worth close to $400,000. $400,000. That's money. And the guy was about to lose his house. And for what? Because he thought he could do it himself? Because he believed what the insurance company was telling him, that he can just appeal and appeal? And he thought that he would be nice and he would be cordial about it and he would not irritate the insurance. No, these insurance companies are there to work for you. They've sold you a safety net, even if it's through your employer, even if you have LTD through work. They were paid for this. They have to pony up the money if you qualify under that policy. And when people are faced with a denial, they curl up into, a turtle, and they walk away. And they believe the insurance company. And what I'm saying is that you don't need to do that. In fact, don't believe your insurance company. Presumptively, do not believe your insurance company. They're not there to look after your interest, even though that's what they say that they're there for.
We're going to take a short break. Coming up here, three things you do which could cause your LTD insurer to cut off your payments, and when your insurance company tries to force you into early retirement, that is simply not nice. 1-855-821-5900. In Your Corner continues. Stick around. You were being harassed, and when you said something about it, you're the one who lost your job. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Insurance companies deny long-term disability claims all the time. They give lots of excuses. Don't give up. I've seen it all. They've ignored your doctors, they've ignored you. You're angry and you're frustrated. But there's hope. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to inyourcorner.ca. You thought you had a secure job. You didn't see it coming. Now what do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca. And welcome back to In Your Corner. You want to reach out any time at all. 1-855-821-5900. Help at inyourcorner.ca is the email address, or simply inyourcorner.ca to catch the website. That would be the place to go. As I left off after the last break, Sivan, want to get right into this. 3 things you do which could cause your LTD insurer to cut off payments. Let's get right into the first one. Failing to provide updated medical reports confirming your ongoing disability.
So this is really, really important, and I want to make sure people understand this. You have an obligation under your policy, your LTD policy, to provide updated reports to your insurance company. Remember, the insurance company has to evaluate your condition. They talk to you by phone, they may ask you some questions via email, but they need to see reports from your doctors. And we're not talking about those napkin messages.
Yeah, Bill's sick.
Bill is sick. That's not enough. That's not enough.
No.
And we've talked about this on previous shows. What should these medical reports contain?
Yep.
And just very briefly, they should contain the following. They should state what is the illness or the disability, what's preventing you from work, how is it that illness or injury is preventing you from working? In other words, what are the functional limitations?
Gotcha.
Why can't you do your job? And it should have something about the prognosis or about what can be expected in the foreseeable future. And as long as the medical reports touches on those areas, and the report can be half a page, it can be 5 pages. I've seen reports that span 20 pages. I'm not asking doctors to do that. I mean, half a page is sufficient if it contains all the information. It's very important to provide those to the insurance companies. And people ask me, how often do I give those?
Right.
Well, that varies. It depends on the situation. I mean, listen, if you are paralyzed, you don't really need to give updated reports every week. I mean, it's understood that you are going to remain paralyzed. But if it's a psychological type of an issue, a mental health issue, perhaps sciatica, back pains, things like that, once every few months is probably reasonable. But if the insurance company is asking you, why ignore them? Now, I understand there is a cost associated with perhaps going to your doctors and getting that report, but you know what? You need to do it.
Yeah.
Don't give the insurance company an incentive to cut you off. That's very, very, important. I mean, I can help you if that happens, but don't put yourself in that situation.
Don't give them the ammunition.
Don't give them ammunition, because they're looking for any possible excuse to cut you off. Don't give that to them.
Now, unlike your employer, they are allowed to ask diagnosis,
Yes.
prognosis, what's wrong with you, right?
100%, because the nature of the policy is premised on disability.
Right.
What is your disability? That's not to say that there has to be a diagnosis. Remember, there's illnesses where we don't necessarily know what the label is for those.
Right.
We just know that the doctors have confirmed that there are limitations and that the person is functionally unable to work because of that disability. So I want to distinguish that, right? If your doctors don't know what the ailment is, what the illness is, but they're confirming that you are ill and you can't work, that is sufficient.
3 things you do which cause your LTD insurance to cut you off your payments. Number 2 is failure to follow your doctor's treatment recommendations. Yeah.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Follow what your doctors are saying, and if you have an issue with what your doctors are saying or telling you to do, then talk with your doctors. I implore you, please. Don't have a situation where your doctor's telling you do this, this, and this, and you've said, I don't feel like it.
Or I don't
I'm
like
going to
this
be
medication.
lazy.
I feel weird. I'm just not going to let the doctor know. Just not take it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's okay if a medication doesn't agree with you. It's okay. I mean, it happens.
Yep.
But make sure that's recorded. Make sure you speak with your doctor. First of all, there can be alternative medications. So, I mean, legalities aside, you want to get better. So maybe there's something else you can take to help you. And even if there isn't, make sure that there is something, that there's communication with the doctor, because you want to make sure that the medical records that the doctors produces or the reports to the insurance company, that they don't say, I told Bill, take X, Y, and Z, or do this rehab program, and Bill decided not to do it. Because I can tell you right now, that is an invitation for the insurance company to come back and say, we're cutting you off because you failed to follow the prescribed treatments.
Basically, the more robust that the documentation is from your medical professionals, the better for your case, right?
Yes, more robust and more supportive.
Right.
You need the doctors who support
Right.
you. So you don't want to, make your doctors angry.
Yeah.
You don't want a situation where your doctor is reporting to the insurance company, I told Bill to do this, and Bill said, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
You don't want that. If there is a problem with the treatment that is being prescribed, talk with your doctor about that and get some alternative going. But don't be in a situation where your doctor is reporting to the insurance company, Bill is deciding not to follow my recommendations. I can tell you right now, almost guaranteed, the insurance company will cut you off if they see that.
We are talking the 3 things you do which cause your LTD insurer to cut you off your payments. The third one is this: failing to comply with a return to work program.
Okay, so I put that in there because that's a bit of a Trojan horse. Most people who contact me who are telling me that they are being cut off or denied long-term disability because they fail to comply with a return to work program prescribed by the insurance company or one of their consultants, they usually, when people don't go back to work or don't try that, it's because their doctors are saying that they're not ready to go back.
Yeah.
So, remember the title of the section is of the segment is 3 things you do which could cause your LTD insurer to cut you off. I didn't say that, or we didn't say 3 things that would be justified for the insurance company to cut you off.
They'll just do it.
Exactly. Yeah. If your doctors are telling you that you cannot go back to work in the present time, do not go back to work. The insurance company cannot force you to go back to work. Now, you may be in a situation where the insurance company tells you, if you do not try to go back to work, that is evidence that you don't want to try and get better. That is evidence that you are in breach of your policy. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Whenever I've had a case, and I'm telling you this unequivocally, where the doctors have said that the person should not be going back to work at this point, and the insurance company insists on the person going back and the person doesn't, and they get cut off, as soon as we start that legal process and there is a defense lawyer assigned to defend the insurance company, they fold like a house of cards. Because they understand, think about this, if I ever took the case and presented it to a judge and the doctors treating my client are saying, but he's not ready or she's not ready to go back to work, what is the insurance company going to tell a judge? We know better than these doctors? What do you think a judge is going to do? He's not only going to force the insurance company to pay what the person's owed, he's going to probably hit the insurance company with extra contractual damages, with punitive damages to punish them for their behavior.
As a viewer, though, I might be listening to this going, well, but if I try to go back to work anyway, it doesn't look like I'm trying to be the good soldier, that I'm trying to do what's right.
And I have no problem with you doing that. What I have a problem with is people killing themselves for the benefit of the insurance company. I will be the first one, and James will be too, to tell you if you can go back to work, go back to work. And God knows there's enough lawyers out there, unfortunately, in our profession, who will tell you to try and stay home when you really should not be staying home, when you are better to go back to work.
Yeah.
You should not follow that advice of your lawyers. I'll be the first one to say that. But if you know that you are not ready to go back to work, and your doctors are saying that you are not ready to go back to work, then you do not go back to work, and you make sure that you tell the insurance company that you are following your doctor's instructions.
Help at inyourcorner.ca to reach out through email. Patinka writes in next, says, I've been off work due to stress and depression for the last 2 years. I applied for LTD and was turned down because they claimed the doctor didn't submit enough proof. The insurance company contacted my employer to ask about early retirement. I feel like they are turning me down because they want to force me to retire. What can I do?
So this is very, very unfortunate. And again, we see this happening occasionally when the insurance company, they try everything. They'll try everything to get you off their books because they want to close files. They don't want to pay, right? In Patinka's case, for the insurance company to contact the employer and talk about early retirement, think about this for a second, because you do the show with Lior, the employment law show. If you take early retirement, if you resign from your employment, you are foregoing severance potentially, right? You are foregoing certain rights. What right does the insurance company have to do that? Not to mention that if you get severance or if you get pension or whatever, that could potentially be credited to the insurance company.
Right.
So of course the insurance company wants you to get that because there's probably a provision in your policy.
Shekels, right?
That says that if you get that money, guess what? We don't have to pay you that money. Again, I am so suspicious of insurance companies. They're in there for one reason only, to make money. And frankly, they don't care who they hurt by doing that. So, in Patinka's situation, again, been off because of the stress and depression for 2 years. I've seen this. Insurance company comes back, says insufficient medical documentation or not enough proof. Right. That's code word for we have no other reason to deny you. And we think that we just don't want to pay you. And so therefore, we're going to throw this blanket excuse out. Yeah. Don't take what they say at face value. This is why you give us a call. We'll look at the medical documentation and we'll tell you if it's sufficient proof or not.
And they may try to say, you have to retire at 65 anyway, which we know from Lior is not true. There is no mandatory retirement. So
they will tell you a whole bunch of stuff, John. Yeah, they will tell you, that Santa Claus is real. They'll tell you anything it's not. They'll tell you anything they can to make you believe that you have no case.
1-855-821-5900 is the number to reach out. How to move forward when the insurance company claims you are unwilling to go back to work. Speaking of back to work programs, that is coming up on In Your Corner. Stick around.
You lost your job. They only gave you 2 weeks of severance per year worked. But where can you find out what you're really owed?
I'm going to severancepaycalculator.com.
Find out how much you're owed right now. severancepaycalculator.com.
You've been denied long-term disability. You think you're powerless, but you have a lot more power than you think. I'll tell you a secret. It's a numbers game for the insurance company. They're betting on you walking away from money that they owe you. Don't make that mistake. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to inyourcorner.ca. You lost your job. They said they had a good reason, but you think you've been wrongfully dismissed. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Welcome back to In Your Corner. Sivan, Tumarkin, John Scholes. We're continuing on here. Resource for you to ask questions and get them answered quite quickly, either by Sivan or James, a member of the team. MyDisabilityQuestions.com. I will read you one, and I know you want to get into it. This one again, MyDisabilityQuestions.com, says, my adjuster told me that the fact that I'm not willing to try to go back to work is evidence that I'm not trying to get better, and as a result, my long-term disability will be cut off. I'm not ready to return to work, and my doctor agrees. I'm afraid that if I try to go back to work when I'm not ready, it'll make me much worse. What do I do?
So we talked about this in the last segment. This is absolutely ludicrous. And again, insurance companies, I said, and I will keep saying, will use any excuse. They will tell you anything that they possibly think will make you believe that you have no case. And in this case, from Ashley, this question, the adjuster telling her that that it's evidence, the fact that she's not willing to go back to work, that it's evidence that she's not trying to get better. What a bunch of nonsense. She's following her doctor's recommendations. And this is what I am telling people. Follow your doctor's recommendations. Don't think that you have to do what the insurance company is telling you, especially when it goes against what your doctors are telling you. It's black and white. Like there is no gray area when it comes, there's a lot of gray area in the law. But there's no gray area in my mind and in my position when we are dealing with your health. Because legalities aside, you don't want to do something that's going to make you worse. Think about this for a second.
Yeah, right.
Let's say you listen to the insurance company, Ashley listens to this adjuster. She goes back to work against doctor's advice. She gets 5 times worse, 2 times worse, 10 times worse. Now where is she? And guess what? She tries to go back. She'll fail that because her doctor told her she's not ready to go back. She's going to try and get back on the LTD program. And the insurance company is going to say, no, you told us you were ready to go back to work. Right? They're going to boomerang you against it. So you want to make sure that you follow your doctor's recommendations. If you were clear to go back to work, then you try to go back to work.
Right.
Not a problem. You do it gradually. You do it with your employer. If you have an issue with your employer, we can help with that, obviously, with our employment lawyers. But you follow what your doctors are saying, black and white.
Help at inyourcorner.ca is the email address. We'll get to one from Vincent. Vincent says, my partner has been off work for 4 years on LTD. After 2 years, the insurance company said that he had to apply for CPP disability or be cut off since he can no longer return to work. He did, but should he receive both LTD and CPP disability? What if he is rejected by CPP and then cut off LTD?
Yeah, you can definitely get both LTD and CPP disability. The thing to understand is that insurance companies want you to apply for CPP disability because they get a credit for that.
That's a government version, right?
That's the government, yes. So to get that, you have to show that you have a serious impairment, and then you have to show that it's permanent, and you have to show that it's prolonged. I mean, you have to, there's a test for that. Now,
Is it tougher?
The test is somewhat tougher, yes. I mean, it depends on who you talk to.
Sure.
But what insurance companies will often say is they'll say, okay, look, you were denied CPP disability, so therefore you don't qualify for LTD.
Right.
Again, nonsense, okay? Getting rejected by CPP for CPP disability does not mean that you have no LTD claim. The insurance company may want you to think that, but that's not the case. But what do you do if you are rejected from CPP disability? Well, in that instance, you can certainly appeal. And in fact, we have consultants that we work with that can help you appeal those decisions. CPP disability appeals, not long-term disability.
Right.
Long-term disability, you do not appeal.
Gotcha.
Now, can you be cut off LTD if you get rejected by CPP disability? Yes, you can be. You shouldn't be, but you can be. And people contact us in that situation, and we hit the insurance company back. And again, guess what? What happens when we start that legal claim, that legal process in that instance? The defense lawyer from the insurance company talks to their insurance company, their client. They come to the table, and we resolve the claim. So again, don't assume that if you are rejected by one body, by the government for CPP disability, then suddenly that extinguishes your right to LTD. They are two separate programs. They're not the same. And frankly, even if they were analogous and similar or even the same, they're two different bodies. I mean, you can have one body, just like we talked about short-term disability, you can have one adjuster thinking one way about your file and another adjuster thinking another way. One does not impact the other necessarily. We can fight the insurance company and bring them to the table.
So why is your the LTD insurance company, since they're so far separated, they're two different bodies, why are they so anxious to have you apply for CPP? What do they care?
Because they get the credit. Because
it's money.
It's money.
All about money.
If you're entitled to $3,000 a month from LTD, and you apply for CPP disability and you get that, you get approved, and you get $1,000 a month.
You ain't getting four.
You're not getting four. 1 plus 3. No, you're getting one, and then the insurance company gets a credit. So you're still getting 3. But the reason why it's a good thing is because if you get approved for CPP disability, number one, you have a separate income source, right? If you get cut off by LTD, now you're getting CPP. And at the same time, it's more difficult for the LTD insurer to cut you off because CPP has approved you.
So it says, and if it is actually a tougher test, it's like, hey, these guys approved me. What's your problem?
Yes.
Wow.
Precisely.
Got a couple minutes to go, pal. Take it home. What do you think?
Well, listen, I was thinking about what is the message that I want to tell people here. We often hear in the politics of the day the term fake news. Yep. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about politics, but I'll tell you this. Insurance companies make fake promises. They are selling you a service, they are selling you comfort, they are selling you a safety blanket, and then when it comes time to collect on that, because they were paid premiums, remember, this is not charity, they yank it from underneath you. And it's completely unfair, and what most people fail to realize is that they have rights. You see, when you have a contract, a policy that you are claiming something under, you now have a right to start a legal process to enforce your rights. And this is what I want people to understand, that you have certain rights, but unless you act on those rights, unless you take that step to make them pay what they owe you, they will walk away with money that they owe you. This is the key. This is not charity. This is money they owe you. So when I walk out of that room with $300,000 from my client, it's not because the insurance company was generous. It's because they understand that if this ever went to court, they would get hit with an award for that, if not more. So make sure that you enforce your rights. Make sure you contact us if you have any questions. We'd be more than happy to help you. And you have nothing to lose. That's really the overall picture.
People just feel bad. They feel, I should make a claim. It's not what I'm supposed to do. You've been paying for this.
You've been paying for this, or your employer's been paying for this. This is not charity. Insurance companies are there to make money, and they make money by making sure that you don't get the money that's owed to you.
It's not their first rodeo. They've been through this before.
Oh, of course.
Don't feel bad.
They're playing. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Out of 10 people, 9 people may walk away, right? So if the one claim they have to pay, okay, they'll pay that.
That's it for another week. You want to reach out, simple, 1-855-821-5900. help@inyourcorner.ca is the email address. Please send them along. We did mention mydisabilityquestions.com. That is a resource for you as well, or simply online at inyourcorner.ca. We'll see you again next time.